Alright, it's day 3 of my trip back to Phoenix. I'm in Mormon Pioneer Heritage. And this is a great place to talk about heritage because just before I left Seattle, I was thinking about a new goal I have to make in my life. So if you've been watching my videos for 3 years, back in early 2020 I made a resolution to normalize my relationship with food. I had major binge eating problems. Actually, it was more of a binge slash anorexia phase problem, if you will. And I started by going on intermittent fasts. And the reason I did intermittent fasting from time to time was because it forces me to find life outside of food. Too often I forget that life isn't food. Recently, I've also found life outside of other activities, especially masturbating. Once you eliminate food and masturbating, you really discover life. I'll let you guys try it. But there is one problem, though. I've been handling my eating disorder in the closet. Like a lot of times, I haven't gone to see my family in 3 years. The pandemic certainly hasn't helped. You know, my mom has high risk factors. She's almost 70 years old. She has type 2 diabetes. I don't know how I'll handle it. But my inspiration was that I was playing Pokemon TCG at an event every Tuesday. And there's this girl there that I like. And I was hoping to get to know her a number of years until she grows up and see how that's going to turn out. And her family often goes there with her, and I see she and her family get along well, even despite differences in not necessarily eating habits, but political views and differences in how she handles her life, and they can see through those differences. My family and I have a difficult time seeing through differences, especially with eating habits, especially with my sexual orientation. When I was a kid, there were many times where my mom wanted me to eat something, I didn't like it, and I certainly tried it, but I couldn't get it down, and she would force me to sit at the dinner table, sometimes for multiple hours, just taking nibbles at it. I think I was 9-10 years old. I hope I don't cry talking about this. I was 9-10 years old, and one night I had sat there for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I think it was a bowl of dumplings or something like that, and I got so frustrated, I picked up the bowl and threw it on the floor in defeat. And my mom was so upset, and she took a ladle and spanked me with it, and chased me to my room, and continued to spank until the ladle broke in half. And I still remember seeing the ladle break in half, and how relieved I was at seeing that. I think I was 9 years old at the time. I was 12 years old when my mom wanted me to have this tomato soup. Actually, it's kind of interesting why I remember I was 12. I'll get to that in a second. And I had a difficult time getting it down. I was taking one sip, and then I was in agony. So after about 30-45 minutes maybe, my dad, who was witnessing all of this, got upset for me, actually. He picked up the bowl of tomato soup and went to the front door and dumped it outside the front door. And I tried to forget about that. In retrospect, I should have stood up for myself, right? Had I just walked away from the table to go play some video games or go do my homework or whatever I needed to do, I don't think my mom would have done anything else, right? But I allowed myself to get played, now looking back at it. That's why it hasn't happened after I've grown up, right? Anyways, the story doesn't end there, though. The following day, my mom had a church event she wanted to attend. I think this was the holiday season, and she had baked these cookies for that church event. And so I was sleeping, and she woke me up screaming, and I asked what happened. And she said that she had taken the cookies out to the front door and saw the red tomato soup, and in her mind, she thought it was blood. She thought somebody had gotten murdered on her front doorsteps, and she collapsed and dropped all the cookies on the floor. And so she was screaming. By this time, she wasn't spanking me anymore. I was 12 years old. And off to church she went. And I thought, well, at least she'll have a good story to tell her friends at church. And I remember thinking, because my mom constantly threatened to kick me out of the house when I turned 18. And I remember thinking, at least I won't have to put up with this. I could put up with this for 6 more years. And I remember the number 6. That's why I remember I was 12 years old. But even to this day, I have a difficult time with my mom and food choices. When I was 16 years old, I started to want to meet girls I was going to college part-time. There's a girl there that I liked, and I wanted to lose some weight. I weighed 210 pounds. I wanted to lose some weight, so I quit drinking soda. And my parents gave me a hard time about it. They thought an occasional soda is not going to kill you, and I agree. But I don't want to drink it. I mean, why is that your problem? I mean, you should be glad that I'm saving you some money not drinking the soda, right? And that's what I thought. My family thought, well, don't you want to have some kind of social life? Well, here's the thing. Do you want to be friends with somebody who doesn't accept you for what you eat and drink? Right? How about if my friends won't accept me because I won't shoot heroin? Is it a bad idea to not make those friends? That's what I'm thinking. Obviously, in my parents' mind, soda isn't heroin, but it's the same concept, right? And so for many years, I had a difficulty with my mom with that until she got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. She had other health concerns, and now when I go home, she complains I don't eat healthy enough, right? And that's an ongoing struggle. But I hope to eventually continue to keep my good relationship with food and to have a good relationship with my family. I was really inspired by the girl at the Pokemon TCG. I'm having a hard time combining the two. I mean, eventually I hope to also travel, and one big holdup is that I have a hard time trusting myself that I'll continue to keep a good relationship with food when I'm overseas and there's food there that I love, right, and that are not available back home. I used to eat all sorts of exotic foods. I was in Poland one summer and I ate some raw squid, and I got deathly ill. I ended up in the hospital. I wanted to try some really exotic foods in China. There was this one vendor who had dog liver meat, and unfortunately I went up to him and I asked him if he uses MSG, and he said something really silly like, that's a Taiwanese tradition. We Chinese people would never use that. And it made me uncomfortable that maybe he was trying to sneak MSG in the food to see what kind of reaction I would have. So I walked away from that. And then not long after that, wet markets like that became all sorts of trouble anyway. But I was talking to a celebrity in Poland that I've kind of befriended, and she actually wants to meet up with me, and I was thinking, oh God, if I go back there, my eating's going to go out of control again. But you know what? I think I got to handle that, because I see the girl at that Pokemon TCG, and she's handling her eating well despite having to deal with her family, despite having to deal with me talking about intermittent fasting. It's not fazing her. It's just one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. So, Anyway, have to honor my heritage, right? Just like the Mormons here do. And I think I just need to. I'm so glad I talked about those incidents with the food fights with my family. I've been keeping those stories in the closet for 20 plus years, I guess. But I think it's time to resolve that and have a good, healthy relationship with my food and my family at the same time.